I was made redundant at 56. I'd been with my company for 12 years at a senior level. The products I created obtained the highest pass rates of the organisation and clients. However, they eliminated my position because leadership apprenticeships were apparently losing money, even though they were the most successful programs they had. I'm 62 now, and I refuse to let others validate me. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 3 things. What workplace ageism actually feels like when you're a woman over 50, and this is my story. How I survived the aftermath and why it nearly broke me. And what I'm building now instead of going back to a proper job. So if you've ever been pushed out, passed over, or told you're too expensive, this is for you. Let me tell you what happened. In 2007, I started working for a national training organisation as head of leadership programs. I designed and developed leadership and strategic leadership programs for some of the biggest names with global reach, such as Vodafone, Royal Mail, Nestle, and Unilever, and that's just a few. I moved into leadership apprenticeships, and I was specifically asked to move into leadership apprenticeships because of my background and success. And then I designed and developed and helped deliver these up to master's level. And in that time, I transformed how apprenticeships were delivered. We had the highest pass rate of any program in the organisation, and external bodies like the Chartered Management Institute recognised the work I was doing, that together we were changing the face of how apprenticeships were delivered. But inside the organisation, I was invisible and I was unrecognised. And here's where it gets worse. The CEO of my division excluded me from meetings, from functions the rest of the team were invited to. He'd dump inappropriate issues on me, problems that should have been his responsibility to solve, to deal with, not mine, but I stayed. I kept going because that's what we do, right? We're professional. We don't make a fuss. We keep our heads down and do the work. Then in 2019, they decided they were going to make me redundant. And let me tell you how that conversation went. The official reason, my position was being eliminated. The organisation had decided they didn't want to deliver leadership apprenticeships anymore because they were supposedly losing money. Even though we had the highest pass rates, even though external agencies and clients recognised the quality of these programs, none of that mattered. I was 56 and I was out. But here's the part that still makes me furious. Not just at the organisation, but at myself for behaving in a way that I now know was conforming to my upbringing rather than being true to myself. I had COVID at the time and I was really quite poorly, but I still showed up for the redundancy meeting. I decided to be calm, professional, pragmatic. And do you know what the director said to me afterwards? He thanked me. He said it was the best redundancy interview he'd ever had. Apparently, I was so reasonable. Let me translate that for you. What he meant was, thanks for not making a fuss. Thank you for making this easy for me. Thank you for being a good woman and not causing trouble, even though I was bleeding inside. And the CEO of the Chartered Management Institute even came up to me at a networking event, and she told me how sad she was, how disappointed that I'd been made redundant. She knew what the organisation was losing, and she even took time to champion me to the CEO of the organisation. But that did little good. Obviously, for this organisation, I was disposable. And how about this? I later learned that a colleague was so upset by how I'd been treated, he left the business in protest. So what do you do when you've been made redundant at 56? You scramble. To be honest, I might appear confident to the outside world, but I didn't really have a lot of confidence that anybody would want me at my age. And that's the truth. I didn't think I was hireable, but I did have something. I had a network, so I used it. And within a couple of weeks, a few organisations reached out asking if I could help them. This was freelance work, contract work, nothing permanent, but at least it was something. And here's the bonkers part. One of those organisations that contacted me was the same organisation that had just made me redundant, and they were asking me to work for them again. Not in the learning division, the one that had eliminated my position. Obviously they couldn't, they'd be breaking the law, but in their higher education division, they wanted me to deliver the same master's level apprenticeship programme I'd been running before and had helped design. Sometimes you just need to suck it up because bills need to be paid. So I started working for them. However, it was only for a few months because they shafted me again. They demonstrated a lack of ethics, a lack of morals, a lack of integrity. And the same organisation that had praised me for being reasonable during my redundancy, golly, they just proved again that the best decision was to actually move away from them. So my next move, I moved to the Chartered Management Institute. They'd reached out to me to ask me to work for them as well. And so I became an examiner, an external examiner for their level 5, level 6 and level 7 leadership apprenticeships. And I did that for a couple of years, and it felt safe, and it was something that I could do, and it was more stable, even though I needed to be self-employed. But it wasn't, because by the time I hit 60, something was breaking and I was really struggling. The CMI work, the work I'd been good at, work that should have felt manageable, was making me anxious, really anxious. I wasn't sleeping. Insomnia hit really hard. I was still dealing with menopause symptoms. So not just the hot flashes and the brain fog. For me, one of the symptoms was I kept falling down. And plus I'd got other health issues that were starting to manifest themselves. So my body was telling me something I didn't want to hear, and that it was I needed to stop. So at 60, I retired. Not because I wanted to, not because I'd hit some magical retirement age and felt ready to sail off into the sunset. But because I couldn't keep going, the work I used to love, work I'd done for decades, was making me ill. So I stopped. For 2 years, I've managed on my pension. It's tight, but I'm making it work. But the numbers don't add up long term. And I need an additional £2,000 a month to be financially worry-free. And my pension just doesn't cover that. So 4 months ago, I had an epiphany. I had a choice. I could go back to a proper job, find some organisation that would hire a 62-year-old woman, if anybody even would, go back to the anxiety, the exclusion, the invisibility, or I could build something myself. Here's what I chose. I chose to build. Not because I'm an entrepreneur at heart, not because I suddenly found my passion, but because I refuse to go backwards. I refuse to disappear. Initially, I'll be honest, I wanted something faceless, low effort, and I thought, I've worked my arse off for 30 years. I want to build something that generates income without killing myself. So really that translates to, I wanted the most money with the least effort. I mean, who doesn't? Well, that was the plan. But the research and the reality brought me to this. If I'm building something, I'm doing it right, evidence-based, holistic, scalable. And it has to be me, my face, my story, my expertise. Because here's what I realised. The expertise they dismissed, the work they made invisible, the leadership development skills they eliminated. Women need that. Midlife women navigating career uncertainty, workplace ageism, financial instability, they need what I know. So that's what Second Bloom is. It's not a passion project, it is a business, and I need it to generate income. But if I'm solving these problems for myself, the financial reality, the career transition, the whole messy midlife experience, I want to solve them for you too. I'm 62, but I'm a chartered fellow of the Chartered Management Institute. I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Personal and Development. I'm a qualified coach. I have a master's degree. I've got 30 years of leadership development experience. And I've been through redundancy, burnout, financial instability, 2 divorces, and the whole what the hell do I do now crisis. I'm not a guru, and I certainly don't have all of the answers, but I'm figuring it out, but in real time. And I'm building tools, evidence-based, practical tools to help us navigate all of this together. So if you have been made redundant in your 50s or 60s, if you've been told you're too expensive or the position is being restructured, if you've been excluded from meetings, passed over for promotions, treated like you're invisible, if you're navigating what comes next and wondering if anyone will ever hire you, you're not alone, because this is workplace ageism and it's real and it's happening to millions of women right now. But we don't have to disappear. We have a choice. But what will that choice be for you? Comment below if this resonates. Tell me your story and let's figure this out together. And if you want to access the tools I'm building, so these are called the Wheel of Health, the Midlife Clarity Assessment. I'm developing 5 apps. There's links in the description. And I really want to share with you and tell you that I'm here to solve problems with you. So thank you for taking time to watch, and I'll see you in the next one.